Today we're going to be working on number 13, rational notes, dividing rational expressions. So when you're doing this, you're going to multiply by the reciprocal, and what that means is you're going to flip the second fraction. So this one we're going to go ahead and put the word second in, and then just like before, you're going to multiply across. And then don't forget your undefined values. Okay, so let's look at this first one. The first thing we're going to do is see if there's any greatest common factors. So we're going to look at that, or anything that is squared and you have to factor. So when I'm looking at the top thing up here, this b minus 4, you don't have any greatest common factors there, so that one's going to stay the same. And then if I have 2b plus 2, we can take the greatest common factor of 2 out of there. So I'm going to put a 2 out front. Oh, why is my pencil not working? I'm going to divide this by 2 and divide this by 2. So that means my 2 is going out front, and I'm left with b plus 1. So now I'm going to use, instead of using this, I'm going to go ahead and use this. Okay, when I look at this one, 3b plus 12, kind of the same thing. You have a greatest common factor of 3. So I'm going to divide both of those by 3. So if I were to divide this by 3 and divide this by 3, that 3 is coming out front, and I have b plus 4 on the inside. I'm no longer going to use that, and instead I'm going to use this right here. Okay, and the last thing is this b plus 1, and that one doesn't have a greatest common factor. Okay, so let's go ahead and do this, and remember you have to, this first set of fractions is going to stay exactly the same. So we're just going to rewrite those exactly as they are. So I have b plus 4, and I have 2b plus 1. Okay, when you have that division, what multiply by the reciprocal means is instead of dividing, I'm going to multiply, and what was on the top before is now going to come to the bottom. So my green b plus 4, 3b plus 4 is now, it was on the top, now it's going to be on the bottom. So 3b plus 4. And my b plus 1 that was on the bottom before is now going to come to the top. So I'm going to say b plus 1. And now you're just going to multiply straight across. What that really just means is, like, in the very end, we're going to combine it in one line. But before we do that, we should state our undefines. So remember, you have to start with what was on the bottom initially. So these ones on my left side, the 2b plus 1, that I have to say b cannot equal. So I'm going to say b cannot equal. If it was a positive 1, now it's going to be a negative 1. And then we're going to do our same with 3b plus 4. So it was a positive 4, so now it's going to be a negative 4. And then before we had that b plus 1, and I'm going to circle it here, we had that originally on the bottom. So because it was originally on the bottom, we got to showcase that one too. And it was a plus 1, and we already, the opposite of plus 1 is negative 1. We already showed that, so we don't have to show it again. So these are going to be my undefines. And then I'm going to cross off anything that's the same on the top and the bottom. So I have a b plus 1 and a b plus 1. I have a b plus 4 and a b plus 4. Okay, so now I'm just going to rewrite it all together. There's nothing left on the top, so to hold that spot, we're going to put a 1. And then on the bottom, I have, and I'm going to highlight those for you, I have a 2 and I have a 3. So I'm going to multiply those together, and I get a 6. So all of that turned into 1 6. So that one is simplified. So let's try number 2. Let's look at the same thing, doing the same thing with number 2. Okay, first thing I'm going to look for, greatest common factors. If you have a greatest common factor, you're going to go ahead and take that out first. If you have a squared value, then you're going to have to factor it. So when I'm looking at this first one, that one has a squared value, so I know I have to factor that one. And when I look at this, that's just a 4. I don't have to do anything with that. X plus 2, there's not a greatest common factor, and I don't have to factor it. And same with this one, x plus 1. I don't have to factor it because it doesn't have the squared, and it doesn't have a greatest common factor. So I'm going to go ahead and factor this top one. So I'm going to put my 2 on the top and my 3 on the bottom. Two numbers that multiply to 2 and add to 3 are 1 and 2. Now I'm just going to go ahead and rewrite my top. with those. So I'm going to say x plus 1 and x plus 2, and then I have that 4 on the bottom. Okay, before it was division, and instead of divide, we're going to multiply. And what was on the bottom is now going to go to the top. What was on the top is going to come to the bottom. So I'm going to put my x plus 1 on the top and my x plus 2 on the bottom. And now I'm going to state, before I go any further, I'm going to state my undefined values. So they're all x's, so I'm going to say x cannot equal. Okay, right away on the bottom, it was a positive 1, so I want it to be a negative 1. But when we switched it, so I'm going to highlight here, when we switched it, now we have this on the bottom. So that was a positive 2, so the opposite's going to be a negative 2. And there's nothing else like that's on the bottom or that moved to the bottom, so those will be our only undefined values. Now I'm going to go ahead and cancel anything out that's top and bottom. That's the same, so I have an x plus 2 and x plus 2. I see I missed a number. This should be a 1 right there. And that is all I can cancel out. So let's go ahead and say equals. Anything that was left over, I'm just going to write. So I had an x plus 1, and I have x plus 1, and then I had that 4. So because, and you don't have to do this, but it looks really nice if you do, because you have x plus 4, sorry, that's not x plus 4, that's x plus 1. X plus 1 written 2 times, you can say x plus 1 squared. So I'm going to say that. I'm going to do parenthesis x plus 1, and I'm going to square it, and then my 4. So there's my simplified right there, and I did my undefined values, so I'm good for that one. So let's move on to number 3. Okay, first thing I'm going to look for is greatest common factors, and then what do I have to factor? Looking at this m plus 3, nothing I could do to make that any smaller. Here's m squared plus 4m plus 4. That one I'm definitely going to have to factor, so I'm going to come back to that one. This one, 2m plus 6, that has a greatest common factor in it. A 2 and a 6 both have a 2, so I'm going to divide them both by 2, so I'm going to put that 2 on the outside. 2m divided by 2 is just m. 6 divided by 2 is going to be 3, so I'm no longer going to use that, and instead I'm going to use this m plus 3. And then finally on the bottom I have m plus 2. That's just going to stay the same. I don't have a greatest common factor. So let's go ahead. In the blue one, we are going to, we're going to factor the blue one, the one that has the m squared. So I have a 4 and I have a 4. They're both positive. I'm going to go a 2 and a 2. 2 times 2 multiplies to 4, and 2 plus 2 adds to 4. So now let's go ahead and rewrite these. So I have m plus 3. That's not going to change. On the bottom, I'm going to have m plus 2 and m plus 2. I'm going to change my division to multiplication, and now I'm just going to flip-flop top and bottom. So my m plus 2 is going on the top, and my 2m plus 3 is going on the bottom. All of a sudden I was recording through Explain Everything, the app that I'm using. Somehow my hand must have bumped it, but that's okay. All right, now let's do our undefineds. Because they're m's, I'm going to say m cannot equal. Start at the beginning, it was a positive 2, so it's going to be a negative 2. It was another positive 2, so it would be another negative 2, but I only have to show it one time. And then if I move over, it was a positive 3, so now it's going to be a negative 3. And then I'm going to go ahead and look at what was on the bottom before. So this one right here, that was a positive 2, so I would need a negative 2, and I already have that shown. So I showed all my undefines, and now I'm going to go ahead and cancel what I can, top and bottom. So m plus 3, m plus 3, m plus 2, m plus 2. And then I'm just going to write what is left over as one fraction. So there's nothing left on top, so I'm going to hold that with a 1. And on the bottom, I'm going to start with my whole number first. So my whole number 2 hasn't been used yet, but then I still have m plus 2 on the bottom. So there's my simplified, and I have my undefines. Okay, let's do our last one, number 4. Ooh, this is a good one. When I look at every single one of these, they have a squared, so I know for sure I have to factor 4 of them. And then I'm going to look really closely. Do any of them have a greatest common factor? And they don't. There's nothing that you can take out of any one of those, so I just know I'm going to factor 4 times. So I'm going to get my 4 factors going. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to start right here with that one. This one is going to go right here. This one is going to be right here. And that bottom one is going to go right here. Okay, so starting with the red one, I have a -2 and a 1. So I know I need a 1 and a 2. Those are my only factors. And because the bottom's positive, it's going to be the smaller one is going to be negative. Okay, I'm going to go to my blue one. I have a 6 and a 5. It's all positive, so I know they're all going to be positive. So the only way I can make that work is a 2 and a 3. My green one, I have a -3 and a 2. The only way to make 3 are 1 and 3. Okay, 2 on the bottom is positive, so it's going to be the smaller number, so it's going to be a -1. And lastly, I have a 12 and a 7, and I know 3 and 4 make 7. They're all positive, so those are going to be positive. So now I'm just going to rewrite those. So I have x minus 1, x plus 2, x plus 2, x plus 3. Change my division to multiplication, and now I'm going to flip-flop. So my green's coming on the bottom. I'm going to say x minus 1, x plus 3, and my yellow's going on top. X plus 3, x plus 4. Okay, I'm going to state my undefines are all x's, so I'm going to say x cannot equal, it's like -2, -3, 1. And I already got that -3, so I don't have to worry about that. So now I'm going back to, my yellow was on the bottom, so I'm looking at these ones, which really would be the x plus 3 and x plus 4. So they're the top ones right here that used to be on the bottom. So now we have to show the opposite. So the opposite of a +3 is a -3, but I have that right here, so I don't have to re-show that. Now I need the opposite of a +4, so that's going to be a -4. So here are my undefines, and now I'm just going to cancel out what I can. X minus 1, x minus 1. X plus 3, x plus 3, x plus 2, x plus 2. That is all I can do. So I'm going to go ahead and say equals. And anything left, I'm going to say x plus 4 and x plus 3. Again, it's okay if you put those in parentheses, but you don't have to. Okay, there is my simplified. You have everything you need to work on number 13, dividing rational expressions.